Let's go.
Okay, there we go. Slight bit of delay. Yeah, very slight. I think. I guess we'll see. Ooh, forgot.
Nice.
What is our
Oh, I
link?
got
What
a
is our link?
notification.
Man, I don't even get notifications.
Wow. Neil Shieldo. Neil Shieldo. Neil Gisildo. Yeah, baby, we're back. Thanks for tuning in, dude.
Some updates you should know about. Sure, sure, sure. Uh,
Neil the Shield. Man, it's been a while. I feel like I haven't talked on a webcam in forever.
it's kind of terrifying. I thought about it. I was like, man, I'm super, super nervous about it, and like, I definitely thought about it. I was like, man, I don't know if like I'm in like the right like state of mind to like get back into it and like get back like really like put thought and effort into doing it. And I was just like, man, this is just like everybody's excuse about work, right? Like when you're on a long vacation, you come back to
About
work
everything.
and you kind of just have to do it, right? You don't really, unfortunately, with a work situation, you can't just be like, nah, I ain't feeling it. I'll do it later, right? So I was like, let me like treat this the same way, where it's just like, even if you're not feeling it, like, do it, give it the best you can, and if anything, just go back and think, dang, that was shitty, and I could do a lot better next time.
Yeah, I agree. You just have to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
The whole point, see it as like, as long as you never quit, we'll keep going upwards.
Mm-hmm. For sure,
But
for
that
sure.
is the hard part about taking breaks. It's like getting back into it and rebuilding that momentum that you've built.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but sometimes it's good. I mean, sometimes it's necessary.
It's a necessary break. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
it's just like taking out the rust. I feel that feeling a lot when me, Anton, and Cody take a break from Rocket League. The first couple games, I'm always like, oh man, these are gonna be rough at first. And then once we get like one game in, I'm like, oh man, we're back. And then instantly we start feeling like, at least me, I start feeling like better than ever.
True.
And that's always a good feeling. So I kind of like breaks. It's just, do you have the momentum to start back up again? That's always the hardest part.
It's like where you
And I
don't
think
get too
that,
comfortable with in your break.
hmm
Yeah, no, that
but yeah,
happened to me while working out. So like a week before we went to Gatlinburg, I was pretty sick. So I was like, I'm shouldn't go to the gym when I'm like this sick. So I came back to the gym like last Wednesday. I started like my 6 day cycle again. It was fucking rough, but it's like I was talking to BJ about it because we worked out on Saturday. I was like, it feels good to like feel like sore again, but it sucks that like I'm feeling sore from like lower numbers. Where it's like, damn,
mm,
like I gotta get back to where I was.
the
But
rebuild process.
yeah, but it should be easy to like jump back into it. It's just like you said, it's just like jumping back into like Rocket League. You kind of like uh old habits kind of come back, but then you can easily like click click back into the motion of it.
How's the gym been? Has it been like busy like all, well, I guess it's already 2 weeks into the new year. So I feel like by now the New Year's resolutioners usually die down.
It hasn't been too bad to be honest. Like even at the beginning of the year, I guess
Hmm
I maybe I went like during like weird times, but it honestly wasn't as bad as I would have imagined. Um,
Mm.
just because I don't know. I honestly don't know if LA does like special like New Year's like deals. I mean, compared to other gyms where it's like they do like a $1 like sign up thing, or like they
Mm.
have like really cheap like oh get like the first month for like free, and after that it's like
Mhm.
$15 or whatever. I don't know if LA does that, so
Mm.
I haven't seen like if I'm being honest, I don't see like I don't really pay attention to the people who come in anyways, but
Mm.
it doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like it's busier than usual. I would say like I guess like people like on like treadmills and like going to classes and stuff seems a little bit busier, but like I mean, I don't fucking do cardio. I need
Yeah.
to though.
S- Do you what? So on that, what time do you usually work out? Do you work out at the same time of day on your
No.
6 day schedule?
No. It varies. So
What's
it
like
depends.
your usual morning, afternoon, night?
It's I usually try to go like morning or like before lunch. So like probably like maybe like 9, 10 ish.
Mm.
Um, just so then like after I work out, I can like have my protein shake. I can eat lunch, kind of like rest recover. Like I can nap.
Hmm.
Um, I know lately like I've been waking up early, just kind of like being restless, and then like I get bored. I get bored. I get in my head about stuff, and I'm like, all right, going to the gym, clear out the thoughts,
Mm.
get the fuck out.
Nice.
But it also depends. Like if it's lately since it's been like really fucking cold, I'm just like, god damn it, I hate going to the gym. Like dressing up to like be warm, just walking out of the car. But then when you get to the gym, it's just like really fucking hot. Like I'm like in like sweatpants. I'm just like, god damn it, I should have brought like shorts underneath these sweatpants because it's fucking hot now.
Yeah, that's annoying. So you usually work out in the morning then? I feel like that's usually when most people work out. I was gonna ask,
It's an
do
odd
you
time because
feel
it's like
like the
if
time of day when you work out affects like your performance?
I think it's weird because since I have pre workout, which is basically like it's basically like a caffeine kick. Um,
Hmm.
like even if I work out at night, like I in theory I would have like the same energy, but I do prefer like doing like going in the morning and like starting the day off, as opposed to like waiting till the end of the day and like go at night. I kind of only do that like if like I've just been really busy during the day and it's the only time.
Hmm.
Um, just because like I feel like my physical and mental energy is low by the end of the day. Like
Hmm.
it's kind of like I'm kind of worn out. I'm like, all right, let me drag myself to the gym. Let me try to squeeze out a workout. And usually, like once I start,
Yeah.
like it's kind of like one of those things where it's tough to start up, but once you get started, the wheels start turning and you're just like back in the motion. It's easy.
Yeah. That makes sense. So do you have any gym goals this year?
It's so I thought about it because I found out MegaCon is in April, so I was gonna do I was gonna try to do a bulk phase uh till February. So like probably like a quick like a dirty like bulk phase for like a month. Just kind of like
Hmm.
eat like try to eat a lot and then by March, April, May start cutting. So if MegaCon's in April and I want to do cosplay in April, I figured I don't want to start the cut phase in April and then kind of like half-ass and be like, oh fuck, now I need to starve myself. At least like in March, I can transition between bulking and cutting, and then April. Once April comes around, I can be like, okay, like how much more do I need to do, and like do I really need to like watch like my water weight, and then obviously for May for our birthday stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you said you're thinking about doing it or you're doing it?
I'm thinking about it because I have to think of like I would have to think about what I'm gonna cosplay as. I also have to think about the cost for everything, because like right now I'm in like super debt, so I'm trying not to spend.
Hmm.
But then obviously if I also don't like want I don't want to like half ass like a cosplay costume. Like when it's like you can easily just like kind of like buy like a set of
Uh,
stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
So like
I don't know.
regardless if you cosplay or not, are you still gonna do this as your bulking
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
season? Ah, okay, okay.
Because
Because you said I
we're still
think I'm gonna
going.
do this. I thought you said I think I'm gonna do. Well, you did say you said I think I'm gonna do a bulking session for this month, and then so I wasn't sure if you're uncertain about that or if you're uncertain about cosplay. So
It
either way, you're gonna do it. It's just
yeah,
whether you cosplay or not.
yeah. It's just
Ah, I
weird
see.
because like trying to trying to fit in enough meals where I'm like eating enough for it to be a bulking phase. Like I was talking to a couple friends about it where like I've just gotten used to eating at caloric deficit. Like when I have to eat over, it
Hmm.
it's literally painful. Like it
Yeah.
just fucking hurts. So I mentioned it to you before where I just need to get used to spreading my meals out over a longer period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of weird too, because especially since like Tuesday's like my shit day. Like I'll have one meal at like 9, and then maybe I'll pack like a peanut butter sandwich to last me for like, because I have a class that ends at like 1, and then I don't eat until like 10 p.m.
Mm.
Because like I'm basically like in class. Like I have like an hour break, and then I have class from like 2 till 9 p.m.
Yeah.
So I don't want to like bring like snacks and stuff. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I just bring like a sandwich or something cold I can eat.
Yeah, like pretty easily.
Yeah, just so I have something to eat. I tried to
Mm-hmm.
like not eat, and I was just like, I mean, I every time by the time I get to my last class, I'm fucking miserable.
So is it one of those things where it also takes time for your body to get used to it? I figured just because
Like
you're
eating
eating
more.
differently as well, it probably takes a couple week, like a week or so or something even, get your body used to eating differently and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
usually the case.
yeah. I
So
think so. Just because I'm used to it, and like, it also helps like getting back in the gym where I'm like literally burning like the calories, right? As opposed to like
hmm
before, where it's just like I'm just sick and bedridden. Like I'm not. The most I'm burning is just like me sweating or just walking around the house.
hmm
So by doing that, like it'll help. It should help make it easier to eat more. Um, but we'll see. I've been trying to like count calories and stuff too. I've been trying to get back on it, and like sometimes like, honestly, sometimes I just forget, or sometimes I get lazy.
Mm, true. Sorry, I feel like I've been asking like a ton of questions. I'll pause
Oh,
and
you're
let you
good.
do.
I was gonna ask you, like, do you have any like short term goals? I don't want to. I guess I'm scared to ask about it because I'm like I don't want to dive too deep into it before we get into the podcast and then run out of stuff on the
Mm,
podcast. I guess if you had to answer like in general, um, do you have any like short term goals or like I guess if I consider like a year as like a long term, do you have like a midterm like something like stuff you want to get done by June?
the big one right now is to release our notebook. That's probably the biggest one I have by June. I'm trying to think.
Like an official release?
Yeah, yeah, where we can actually like sell it is what we're hoping to do by June.
True.
Actually a little bit earlier, I think, but that's the big one. The other one, and this is more of a minor thing, but I want to also work on decorating my apartment, like actually getting more furniture, uh, frames and stuff, and kind of like actually learn a little bit more on interior design.
True.
I think that would be really cool and just good knowledge to have, and
Yeah.
something I don't really know that much about, but it's more and more it's been like piquing my interest. So I think that's something I want to start building up because I've always had this like mindset of, oh, this isn't my place. Like, why should I invest in furniture and decorating and all that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized it's a bad mindset to have. Because in reality, I'm gonna bring it wherever I go, and I'm gonna like customize the space as I go. And like, I think that's important. I think customizing, like making something your own and like making it your home is really important. And it's something I haven't really explored that much before.
True. True.
So that's another thing that I want to start doing, which should be fun.
It's pretty cool. Like I feel like interior design is like one of those things that's like when you I guess like when you think about it, it's kind of undervalued. But when you like see what it's like when you see it, like you can kind of like really appreciate it, right? Where like just having small things can make like let's just say like compared like having frames on a wall compared to just have blank wall. Having those frames of like whatever, whether that's like actual like art or just you know pictures of like you and your friends and stuff like that. Like
hmm
it is a vast difference of just something as simple as that, and like just like even I guess if I have to put it this way, like understanding like the feng shui of like how to organize things and like where to place things,
hmm
it just creates a different feel. And like you said, just like learning to create like your home
hmm
and make it feel homey for you.
Yeah. Um, and I think you describe it pretty perfectly. And like for me, and I don't know that much about it. I'm still learning. But a lot of it is like feeling. Like you
Mm-hmm.
kind of know when you walk into a room when it feels right. Like things are designed with purpose. And that's what I want to create for my apartment a little bit more so. Because right now it's designed where it's just like I just need a furniture, I'm gonna throw it all together.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really think about too much of, you know, why are the seats positioned this way? Um, I'm even thinking like so like the only thing I gave real thought on is like my computer desk. So
Mm-hmm.
I know you've been here,
Yeah.
but like essentially the way it's designed is like my computer desk is in the corner of my living room, so then I can see like everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then I also realized like it's cool that that exists, but at the same time, when am I going to be on my computer and also need to see everything in the room? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
And I like realize like that it doesn't really make that much sense for it to be designed this way. So that's like some of the stuff I've been trying to think about.
It's in case of
Um,
a home invasion. You never
what's up?
know. It's in case of a home invasion.
Yeah.
We know
Even
you're gonna
then,
be at your computer. Come on.
even then, I'm looking like
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
corner.
yeah.
I'm not even like sitting here, like looking this way. So I'm like, oh man, what's this guy doing over here? If someone invaded my home, it would
You wouldn't
only I
even
would
know.
only know if I was on the webcam, like if we were in the podcast
I'm
and I
like,
see him in
yo,
like
you invite
the
some people
reflection.
over?
I'm like, yo, who's that?
Yo, I don't think your friends are supposed to take your fridge.
Yeah. So like those are the stuff I want to give more thought on. I think like part of it is the like frames and stuff, but I also want to fix like the seating area. Um, like I saw a really cool video of this person. It was like I think it was like an architect or like someone that was like a professional
Interior
interior
designer.
design person. Um, and it was cool. Like she talked about how the way she organized the chairs and the lighting, like, is to create like a more free flowing space and like encourage conversation. And
Hmm.
so like instead of having all the chairs face the TV, they like design the chairs so they face each other more. So then when people sit, you're like naturally forced to sit and talk with someone, things
Interesting.
like that.
Hmm.
And it's like really small, but I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. Like it makes a lot of sense.
Right.
And I think giving it that thought and understanding what's important to you is really important because like where you live and where you stay, I think is a reflection of you as well. So it's like something I really want to improve on that I like never really cared about before or like had that perspective. So
True.
that's my other big thing. But yeah, what about you? Do you have any non-working out short-term goals?
Hell no. Uh, I mean, yeah, I talked about this with you before, where it's just like kind of working on like my mental state of mind, where I
Mm,
ended up getting used to just like like it was funny because I read about it in like this book about just like writing down like your negative thoughts, and then like instead of trying to fight it in your mind, where like I, I feel like the mind can easily just go down like a black hole of just like negativity, and it's hard to like once you get into it, it's hard to just like kind of step out and get out of it. um
mm-hmm.
or like things, the only logic that makes sense is like anything that's negative, where you're like, oh, okay, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that adds onto this, that adds onto this, and it's never like anything like positive, or like there's no, I don't know if you've ever felt it, but like sometimes it's hard to just like be like, no, this doesn't make sense, just stop.
Yeah.
It's like, no, there's the wheels are turning. Let's keep going. Let's get
Mm-hmm.
into the black hole. So like I was
Yeah.
like, let me write it down. Or like I read about it in a book. I was like, no, there's no way I'm gonna do this. No way I need to do this. But
Mm.
and I, we've talked about it in other podcasts before, just in general, where like um if what you're doing hasn't worked before, uh doing it again is gonna give you the same results, right? So you
Yeah.
gotta mix it up. You gotta try something different, even if it sounds absurd, right? If you haven't
Yeah.
tried it, don't knock it. Don't knock it until you try it, because you never know. And I'm glad I
Mm-hmm.
did. Where I just like started writing down like all my like a bunch of like illogical thoughts, or like I guess it started off of like what's like the overarching like feeling that I can kind of like generalize, and then like specify like, okay, um, how does this make you feel, or
Hmm.
like what are the reasons why you feel like this way,
Yeah.
and then I go to the next step where it's like, okay, so these are the negative feelings that you feel. How can you like fix that, or is it completely illogical, like where it's just like um something as simple as like, oh, I'm a terrible person.
Hmm.
So like combating that with logic, it's like, um do you physically hurt people? Do you go out of your way to like cause harm to people, or like cause chaos and destruction in your everyday
Yeah.
life? It's like, no. So I mean, you're not a bad person, right? So it's like stuff like that where it's just like you kind of like it was weird where it was like you kind of go like if you're gonna be that extreme about like your negative thoughts, combat it with that. Where it's just like, okay, you think you're a terrible person, you go out and like just punch people in the face on the street. No,
Hmm.
you don't seem that bad to me so far. Like,
Yeah.
um, and then slowly progressing where it's just like a little bit more realistic as to like, okay, what can you do to like change this mindset? Like, um, I guess one of the biggest ones was um, just like find something positive about yourself. Like even if you have to lie about it, if like just like if you don't believe it, I would say
Mm.
let's just say you're in your head about like not being a good person. Like just tell yourself
Hmm.
every day, I'm a good person. Here's something good I did,
Hmm.
and just do it again and again and again. Like even if you don't believe it, just tell yourself I'm a good person, and
Yeah.
then think of something good that you've done. I waved hi to somebody. That could be something good. I
Hmm.
don't know. Like, and just keep almost like lie to yourself enough. Like it's almost like tricking your mind into believing, oh, okay, I am good. And then
Hmm.
once like if that thought ever comes up again, where it's like, oh, I'm a bad person, then you can easily click because you have all that reinforcement of, no, I am a good person. These are the things I've done.
Hmm.
I've done this before. I've blah 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 blah.
Mm. That's
Um,
cool.
so it's an interesting process so far because I was gonna do it like month by month, and I recently looked back on it because I was just like, man, someone brought it up. They're like, man, it's almost like the end of January. Like what? I don't know what the hell happened. Even I'm just like, whoa,
Hmm.
holy. Okay, let me double check. Let me see. Like, have I made progress? Have I done work? Like, where else do I need to keep doing work?
Yeah.
And it's like, I guess it's like self development. I feel like is an ongoing process, right? I think I would assume most people kind of have like um their bar of like idealism or perfection that they want to like strive for, right?
Hmm.
Um, so I feel like there's always going to be something that you can be working towards.
Yeah.
Um, so it'll be interesting to see how my thoughts or like my negativity from like the start of the year, how that's going to transition to like midway through the year, end of the year, even just like I said, even just like the month by month process. It'll be cool to be like, okay, so maybe maybe this goal was a little too hard. Like
Hmm.
trying to have a conversation with a random stranger. Like
Mm.
meet someone new like once a week. Maybe that was too hard. Okay, let's scale it down because that was too hard. Let's figure out what we can do to really like accomplish that goal for
Hmm.
the next month and stuff like that.
That's cool. I think that's huge. I love the concept of breaking things down into like the smallest possible step and then taking it step by step at that point because it becomes so much more digestible or like so much more realistic. Because sometimes even things that seem small when you first scope them out, so like meeting a new person once a week, on paper it sounds really easy, but only once you start doing it do you realize
How difficult it could be.
this is really difficult if you don't do it all the time already,
Mm-hmm.
or if you don't put yourself in those environments. And then you start to realize all these different factors that come into play that create this experience of meeting someone new. Like your state of mind, their state of mind, the location you're at, what time of day it is, what you guys are doing. There's like a billion things that have to come together. And focusing on one of those things and making it optimal like kind of leads into the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing you know, you can talk to anybody, and it's kind of cool. But I think otherwise it becomes really, really hard to just keep going at it
Hmm.
without like beating
It,
yourself up. I think
yeah,
that's huge too.
yeah. Because I was gonna say too, I feel like it's kind of like overwhelming, right? Where you set like this large goal, and especially if
Hmm.
you don't know like how to break it down, right? Where it's almost just seems it seems too daunting. Where it's just like, oh, I'm never gonna do this. What's the point of trying? And you kind of give up before you even start.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's one thing. I think that's one thing I need to work on for sure. I know this happened like it happened to me a lot with just like video editing. That's why I stopped like trying to edit videos. It just for me I was just like, oh, this is so much work. I got so much that I need to do and blah blah blah. I made all these
Yeah.
excuses before like I even just like did it.
Yeah.
It was like I was defeated before I even started, right?
Oh, that's the worst.
But it's like
It's the worst.
I could have just like broke it down like just import all the video files onto the project.
Yeah.
Don't gotta touch it. Just put it there so it's ready to go whenever you're ready.
Hmm.
And then just try to figure out like piece by piece. Like maybe edit like work on it for like 10 minutes.
Yeah. Do it step by step. I
Yeah.
think that's what's really hard about creating that I've learned to respect so much more is there's really two parts of it. The first part is like the pure skill level, which is like, being able to make something that is good, that people will like. And I mean, that's just doing it over and over again and like fine tuning your own craft.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like this other aspect of it, which I think is really huge, is the courage to create. And I think that's like gigantic. And I don't think a lot of people realize how much we experience it every single day now that like social media exists.
Mm-hmm.
Because like every time you tweet or write a Facebook post, put something on Instagram, like have you been in that moment where you already have everything written out and then like you kind of pause before you hit like publish or tweet or post?
Or
You know what I'm talking about?
sending a text.
Or
Yes.
so, yeah, exactly. Sending a text it's the
Millions of
exact same.
times.
And I think that's like a huge portion of what I never realized. Whenever you create something, you have to have like this courage to put yourself out there. And I think that's super cool and also super scary because every time you create something, it's like a part of your soul that you're like showing to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just praying that it is accepted or not. It's really, really interesting to me. And it makes me want to create more. It makes me want to like keep doing more stuff to keep building because I think you have to build the courage to.
I have something that I want to ask you about in
Hmm.
relation to all this stuff. But we have 5 more minutes for the pre-show, so I'm gonna go ahead and call it out now. And if you guys
Yeah.
listen and tune in now while you're live here, use this time to get your water, use a bathroom break pretty quick. Uh, Hopefully, we'll start the show promptly at 8. Sometimes things happen. We get too deep in the conversation, what's going on, but we'll be back. Sit tight. Again, this is a quick bathroom break for everybody.
Do you have a be right back scene, Mark, or do we not have one? I thought
Oh,
we
do I
might
have
have.
one? I do.
Nice. Are you gonna pop
Ooh,
it real quick? Because I
baby. Yeah, yeah,
will.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna go right into the bathroom.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Well, mics are still live, so make sure you mute your mic.
Yeah. You just hear a bunch of pooping. All right, I'll be right back.
All right, all right. So we're still here. We're still taking a quick break. Matt is not back yet, so we will wait. We'll wait until he comes back. But I hope everyone's here. I hope everyone's had a good start of the year so far. Sorry we took the couple weeks hiatus. Had some work that we had to get done. And I mean, like we said before, there are a lot of times where it's important to to take breaks, right? I think at least I kind of felt it. I felt like I was getting worn down a bit, just grinding it out, and hopefully we'll get into some of our thoughts about it, about like the future of the podcast during this specific episode. But yeah, let's see. Forgot. I gotta remember to post this on the social medias. I tend to forget to. As someone who is not too active on them medias. Oh dang. Surprise. Uh-oh. Maybe we'll see. Sorry. I got a notification on my watch. I got a text. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know. True? Okay. Maybe I finally get my haircuts done. Sorry, I tend to forget that I don't have. We're still in the break. The break scene. Actually, here. This is what I'll do. So I'm gonna do this. This one for now. Okay. Sorry. Long story short, there's one of my friends knows like a personal like hairstylist, and I was like, man, I want to get like a decent haircut, because there's a lot of times where I go to get a haircut and I'm not really sure exactly like what I want, but I also don't trust them enough to be like, what do you think would look good with my face, right? But she did a good job with one of my friends, so I was like, hey, you know what? I'll give it a shot. I shall give it a shot. Oh, he's back. I came back earlier, but then I was like, I don't want to leave I left the break scene up too long, and I was like, oh, okay.
You left it up too long? Is it already 8?
It is 8. It is 8 now. So,
oh, okay.
This is what we'll do. Let me get a couple things set up. Let's see how this looks. We'll see. Okay. Let me do this, because this will be for our personal recording. And I guess before we start, any last remarks before we go ahead and get this show started? Oh God, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, I do remember. Okay, I'll start with that.
Let's do it.
Let me clear my throat. Let me get some water. One more sip of water. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Here we go. All right, and welcome back, everybody, to the Almost Awesome Podcast. We're at episode number 28. We're back from our 3-week break? Was it 2? 3? I think it was 3.
3, I think.
Pretty sure it was 3, because we had one at the beginning of the year, right? Could be wrong. Anyways, regardless, welcome back. Hopefully you guys and gals out there found your way here. I know it's been some time, but We're still here, the same place, different time. So in case you did miss us live and you do want to get the chance to come in and join us and chat and talk to us, we're now going to be streaming our podcast live starting at 8 p.m. on Sundays. This isn't something that's going to be permanently set in stone. We're going to see kind of how it feels for us, for our guests, and especially for you guys, the viewers. So if you guys have any comments about it, or maybe like a better time suggestion, let us know. But as a typical welcome back, Matt, how are you doing?
Yo, I'm doing good, man. Sorry, I'm a little disconnected right now. I was about to make a tweet
Oh, true. Do your thing.
of us going live.
I also did that. I did that on Facebook just a couple minutes ago. I tend to forget so much to just like just post like, hey, we're live. Unfortunately, we're
Yeah,
not big enough yet for people to just mark it on their calendars. That you know, oh, it's time. It's time for the Almost Awesome podcast. I gotta get ready now. Gotta sit tight, get my water,
yeah.
brace myself for some
Uh,
juicy conversations.
yeah, I feel like I need to spend more time on what I should put in like the post itself, but for now, I'm not gonna think too much. I'm just gonna post something for post's sake.
It's all good. Do what you gotta do. That's what I did for Facebook. I was like, all right, let me just post a link so then people find it because I forgot. So it it was weird because for a while we did have an Almost Awesome Twitter, but back then no, I guess us founders never really used Twitter that much. So it was kind of dormant for a while, and I was like, okay, I need to use an Almost Awesome Twitter for its own thing, and have my own personal Twitter for my own personal things.
Hmm.
Um, so I was trying to make an account, and then I was like, oh, it already has one registered. I was like, okay, cool. Let's figure out what the count is. So I just did the typical forgot password, and I was like, okay, cool, we got it. So
Hell yeah.
on Twitter, so that's where we're gonna be posting any like updates on the podcast. We're gonna be putting our Twitter question for the week for like the next upcoming podcast through our Twitter, and that Twitter handle is at underscore almost awesome underscore. So it's just almost awesome with an underscore before and after. So make sure you guys follow us there. I'll go ahead and put that in the description later as well, in case you guys do forget. I'll put all our social media outlets there. I do apologize because I know it's not always consistent in what we post and when we post through our social media outlets. That's something that we are going to be working towards. But if anyone out there wants to give us a hand or give us some advice as to the best way to go about doing this, that would be greatly appreciated.
Hmm. It's a work in progress. I think that's also something really interesting that I feel like I'm learning more and more about now is like if I consciously wanted to grow a social media account, could I do it? And I never thought about how much effort it really takes to,
Like managing
build
it.
that audience. It makes me kind of respect influencers more.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's really easy to, look down on them or be like, man, they're fake. They like just make YouTube videos. They just post stuff on Instagram. But I think it takes a lot of work to like curate your content and like build your own brand.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's also a fun journey that we're kind of embarking on ourselves.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something I'm learning more and more about now after going through and trying to start this thing up, which is cool.
So to be fair, I know I was very late in like trying to work on like updates for the show and finding the Twitter handle and like posting the Twitter question. But I did post one, and obviously, if you're not here live, I'd love to hear it in the comments. This is something that I want to throw to you as well, Matt. As we were going through and talking with different guests and stuff, I tend to find myself almost wanting to ask the same question to different guests. Kind of things like, what are your goals? What drives you? Where do you find your motivation or positivity in life? I like those questions because I feel like everybody kind of has a different answer. Everybody has their own story, right? So more times than not, you're gonna get you're gonna learn something new, right? You're gonna hear like a different story. Um, Very unlikely that things are gonna, you know, guest A and B, their stories are gonna be exactly the same, right?
Hmm.
Um, but if I had to throw it out there, almost just like creating like an an over like arcing theme. Maybe like we could do it like month by month and just like have a theme for the month. Um,
Ooh,
One thing that I would
that's
like to ask is, what's what's a topic or like what are questions that you would um, like to have us talk about on the podcast? Something maybe something that we haven't talked about or something we may have like skimmed over, but like we could dive deeper into.
hmm. I think I love. First off, I love this idea. I love the idea of having a monthly theme, and then based off that, having like a consistent question that we ask every guest for that month. This thing. I think that's a really cool idea. Um, I think there's a lot. I think there's also a lot of things that we've asked before, like you mentioned, that we can ask again. I
Mm-hmm.
think one of my favorite questions that I love asking people right now is, um, like, what would you tell a younger version of yourself? I think that's always really cool. Um, because I think a lot of people like to look back and like have that nostalgia feel and like I think at least me especially I love looking back at memories and like it warms my heart. But it's hard to think of those things productively. And I like that kind of question because it gets people to think two things. I think it gets people to think um, about where they were in their past and where they are now is one of the things I love. It like helps someone actually describe their growth over the years. And I think the other portion of it that I really love is that it allows people that might have been in a similar spot as someone in their past to get a piece of advice from someone that went through that same thing and has triumphantly gotten through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really cool because then it provides like this cool value to the person delivering the advice and the audience that might be going through it. And I think it's really interesting to think about. Um, but yeah, that's one of my favorite questions. I think that'd be a really cool one.
I think
I
oh,
oh, go ahead.
it, speaking of like that, I guess like in the sense of like having that the look back of like your progress. That's something that's ticked with me recently where I feel like a lot of people um I sorry for generalizing. I know for me personally, I feel like a lot of times I'm too busy focused on just like chasing after that goal constantly of just like becoming a better me, right?
Yeah,
Where like it's the sight's always forward. I don't
yeah.
really look back. But sometimes like it gets it's like it's a journey, right? Where
Hmm.
you just travel so far and then you just feel like you're never going to reach that goal, but you just keep striving for it. But you never take a second to look back and be like, man, this is where I was before. This is how much progress I've made. It's not like my goal's here and I'm still here.
Yeah,
It's the goal kept moving and I kept moving with the goal, and I started
yeah.
way over here.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's cool just to see like it's cool to give yourself that retrospective where you
Yeah,
like give yourself some time to look back onto, you know, who were you in the past, what was going on in your mind then, and how have you grown from it at this point? Or even
hmm,
better yet, like if you haven't grown, you know, maybe we could do something about it now. Let's search for an answer now that we're thinking back on it.
yeah. So I have one question for you, but I do want to call out. I love something that you said that really stuck with me, and I think it's a really great description of goals. And part of the problem, or like the hardship of setting a goal, is when you first set a goal, like you think this is you, and this is the goal, but it's only when you start working on it do you realize you're not really this close. You're actually like all the way this far.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only when you look back do you realize, man, there was so much stuff that I really needed to work on to get this
To
close
get
to it,
there.
to realize where I really was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's really cool, or what I think it's an important realization about setting goals is many, many, many times you aren't as close as you really think you are. And I think there's so much more work than you realize, but you only realize it when you start doing it, which I
What's
think is really like that resonated when you brought it into those terms because it's something I never realized. And it's something you won't ever realize unless you look back.
mm-hmm.
And then you can say, man, I remember doing this and this and this and this, and I didn't even realize these were part of the things I needed to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't think they were even tasks or part of things that feed into this overarching goal, but they helped me reach it. And it's really hard to realize that when you're working because you're so far, like you're focused so much on getting to the goal,
Mm-hmm.
you don't even know all the things that,
It's just like you're
all the
deadlocked.
pieces.
You just tunnel vision on the goal, and you're just like, all right, I guess I have to do this now, right?
Yeah,
Now we'll do that, and we're just going to the next goal, and you don't even realize like the small bits of like growth that you've made, even though it may not like directly relate to like your goal. You may have grown in other areas of just life and
yeah,
experience.
yeah. So I have to ask you this, Mark. If you could give yourself 5 years ago, so what, 25? When you were 25, what's like five things you would tell yourself,
Ooh.
your 25-year-old self?
So with questions like this, I always have like a small retort, or like the first thing that clicks in my mind is, what could I tell myself that I would believe 5 years ago?
Hmm.
Because that's a hard thing. Because
That's
it's
also
like I
important.
could I could say anything, right? I could be like, Donald Trump is gonna become president, or like something like absurd, like something that like 5 years ago we wouldn't have imagined, right?
Yeah.
That was a bad example, but
Well,
anyways,
there's like two. Yeah, you're right though.
like even like you could say something like super absurd, like, oh, you're gonna become like right now, like let's just say like you're in school, right? Let's just say your major right now, you're not gonna make money in that major, but you need to do this major so you can become this and become successful in this,
Mm-hmm.
like
Hmm.
something like that, where it's just like, so why don't I just go straight there instead of going through these trials and tribulations right now?
Yeah.
But I think what I would tell myself, oh, that's tough, because in my head I'm like, oh yeah, you just say this, say this, say this. It's like, would I believe that? Um,
Yeah.
Dang. Because even like when I think about it, I'm like, man, would I believe me if I told myself? Like, I guess the biggest thing would be more confident in yourself, really believe in yourself. Uh,
Mm.
you sell yourself, way too short too many times. There's there's a difference between being humble and just like really belittling yourself.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and you're going a little too far there, buddy. You gotta believe in the
Yeah.
things that people tell you. When one person tell you something about yourself, maybe you don't gotta believe it. But when it's like four or five, maybe you should kind of consider it. Maybe it could be true.
Hmm.
So, um,
So that's one. Be more confident and don't beat yourself up so much. Let's break it to three. Let's do three
top
things.
three.
Yeah.
Dang, 5 years ago. I have to like. I'm honestly trying to think. I'm like, what was I doing
Where were you at
five
5 years
years
ago?
ago?
25-year-old Mark.
God, that's 2015. That seems like it was so long ago,
Yeah.
right? So, let's see. What was I doing then? Jesus.
While you think about it, I'm gonna pull up my phone and see if me and you have any pictures from 2015.
Yeah, because like I can't even think like what what was I doing 5 years
2015
ago?
Mark.
Was that before I started working at Coke? Hmm.
Let me see.
I I think one thing I wouldn't believe. When did that happen? No, that was a couple years ago. I would I would say work on streaming more, because there'll
Hmm.
be one day where you you become, I mean, it's not much, but you become affiliate, and you get your foot in the door just by grinding
Hmm.
it out and playing Doki Doki Literature Club. Don't play it yet because you got to give it time. You'll know when to play it. But until then, just have faith and grind it out. I guess that's the terrifying
That's
thing
a
too,
good
where
one.
it's just like when you have to tell someone just have faith in the process, right? You may
Yeah,
not see it now, but just just do it, and future you will appreciate it.
it's gonna work out. That's cool. Have faith in the process.
Oh, this I know this one for sure.
Yeah.
For that'd be number two. So for number three, put yourself out there and start dating. What are you doing,
Mm.
man? You wasting. I guess
What
if
do
I
you?
had to give it a cleaner theme, if I had to give it a cleaner theme, it would be um put more value to your time, because there's a
Mm.
lot of time that you sat there moping and whining and saying you're just focusing on yourself and stuff. I mean, that's good, but you need to make sure you really put value into your time.
Mm.
Um, I guess even for me, like just hearing it from other people, just understanding that time really is super valuable. Anytime you waste, you can never get it back.
Mm.
So, like, I guess in a sense like this, where in a bad situation, it's okay to feel bad. I'm not saying don't feel bad about it. If you don't feel bad about a bad situation, you may want to consult a psychiatrist because you may be insane. But it's okay to feel bad, but you have to remember you got to keep moving.
Mm.
Time isn't gonna wait for you, man. Time keeps
Mm.
going whether you're ready to go or not. So
Mm.
uh, don't don't waste it, man.
Don't waste it.
Don't waste it. But
That's
start
cool.
dating. Start dating so you learn the rules. Because learning
Yes.
it
I'm trying
late
to think.
sucks.
Were you talking to someone when you were 5 years ago? I can't. I don't know if you were or not.
Honestly, because I had talked about it. I had talked about it with Tyrone like not too long ago, but I had gotten back into like dating literally like last year. Like
Dang.
for a long time I was just like, no, I'm not ready. Like um most of it was just like I need to put time into me. I guess for me develop like mentally, I've always been like a giver kind of person where it's just like um I guess like if people ask me like what do you want? What are your goals? What are your wants? What are your desires and stuff like this? And for
Hmm.
me, it's always like I'd want to make someone else happy. Like I don't I
Yeah.
it's like I never put time into thinking about what do I really want? What are my goals? What are my dreams? And how do I accomplish those? It's always been like
Mm.
I want to make the people around me happy. I want to be like that good friend, the funny guy that makes people laugh, and like when times are tough, like you can lean on me, you can talk to me, and I can do my best to console you. Um,
Hmm.
but I never really put time and effort into like working on me. I guess like in my head I was always like, I'm a decent person. Like I'm not perfect, but like my flaws aren't that bad.
Hmm.
But like you know, after thinking about it and like interacting with people, is like you kind of pick and learn like, hey, there's a lot of stuff like you can work on. Like even with
Hmm.
this, just like learning how to have a better conversation, just learning how to have a conversation to even start
Yeah.
off. Um, so
Nice.
yeah,
The big three.
so confidence. I don't remember my second one, and don't waste time. Well, look,
Trust
we
the
can look back.
process.
Trust the
Trust the
process. There's
process. You said
confidence. Trust the
stream
process.
more. You're gonna hit affiliate one day.
Even
Like, don't
everything else,
worry.
man.
Your digital media might not pan out, and maybe it will still one day, but it'll be part of who makes you who you are 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Those are good. Those are good.
What about you? What would you tell yourself from 5 years? Did you
Uh,
end up finding a picture from like 5 years ago?
so 5 years ago was around the time where it was the second. I just found January pictures of 5 years ago. Me and you weren't together, but we had started. I think this was like my second snowboarding trip ever. Um,
I'm curious to see.
so it was still pretty fresh. I'm trying to think. I think you shaved your head not recently before that. Well, you were
I
starting to
remember
grow your hair, but you had like a buzz cut-ish.
I remember that was like the trend where I was just like, man, I don't want to pay for a haircut. I'm just gonna just like chew it off.
I have a bunch of fishing pictures because I guess I was really uh,
Was that when we lived by the Waterford area in
it was. It must have
DKC?
been
That was DKC,
DKC
right?
because you must have. I think you were living there again because we
Huh.
when we lived there, we always lived there together, right?
Not always. I was there originally, and
Oh, but you
then I
were in
moved.
DKC at this time because I also remember. Oh no, you weren't. This was when you weren't at DKC anymore. Do you remember we were playing Don't Starve together a ton
Ah.
around this time as well?
Oh. Okay, so I saw this. So in 2016 we went to Japan.
Oh, that's a pretty big. That's like pretty indicative of that time period.
Is this
Ah, so that was when I was already working.
Oh.
Um, so let me think.
2015 me, you and Kevin Lim hosted Sayao.
Ooh, Sayao hosting. That was an interesting one.
I'm trying to see what else
I was not
was
mentally
there.
prepared for that.
Yeah, I remember I told you guys, I was like, yo, just wing it. It'll be fine.
And I couldn't handle that. That was one, that was a tough one for me. Um, but actually, I feel like it actually turned out fine. Like all things. That's what I would
Oh.
tell myself for sure is everything's gonna turn out fine, man. Like just stop work. Like I and it's interesting because like you can tell yourself that. It's one of those things where I know I wouldn't listen, but it doesn't hurt to hear it one extra time. But it would be like, don't worry too much about your career. It's all gonna pan out. Trust your ideas because they're good, even if you don't see them yet. Um, I think that would be a huge thing. And something I feel like I'm just starting to realize now, especially when it comes to work. So that would be big. Um, I think the other one would be some of the similar stuff that you mentioned. I think learning how to talk to people and have conversations and be real is something that I would tell myself too. Is like, actually, I'd take it a level above that. I would say, hey, dude, you should read more books. Like, find something you like and just start reading more. I think that was one of the biggest changes that I've had probably in the last 3 or 4 years is like I started to read more books just in general. I think that's helped me grow a ton. And I think it's two things. It's helped me grow a ton, but it's also helped me realize who I am a lot more. Um, so I think that's big. So I tell myself, believe in your ideas, read books. Um, I'm trying to think of what else I would say. I don't know. I don't know what my third one would be. I would be like, yo, you're gonna live in Chicago one day, dude. That's what I tell him.
Something simple.
He'd be like, what? What? I can't tell you. Peace, dude. Um, that's probably what I would tell him, just for fun. Other than that, I would say, actually, no. You know what I would tell him? The third one, I would be like, yo, really enjoy the moments you have here because time is gonna fly. It's like similar to what you said, like value your time because things are going to pick up quickly
Yeah.
soon, and you won't even realize it. And I know you're gonna appreciate it, but here's another reminder, like love the moment.
Hmm.
That's what I would say.
So I
Yeah.
guess this is something that I had thought about in regards to the podcast. Um, is because it hit me personally. And I kind of have like a small segue uh, to it. Um, but after doing the podcast and trying to put it into practice, do you feel like you've gotten better at having conversations? Now, before you answer, I'm gonna leave you to it really quickly because I have to attend to something really quick. But I will be right back. But
Okay.
you can go ahead and answer. But again, I will be right back. Sorry about
Oh,
this,
you want me
everybody.
to go ahead and answer anyways?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I'll be back.
Um, yeah, do your thing. So for all of our guests out here, I would say that it has helped me a ton, like get better at conversations. I think this what it helped me realize was there's a lot more to conversations than we think. And it helped me realize that we have the power to make a conversation interesting. And it's completely on us as participants in the conversation. Because of that, I think the first step was realizing that. The second step was how do I make things interesting in a conversation, at least for me. And this was something that I'm still trying to wrap my head around more so, but it's like this concept of being really present when you're in a conversation and literally just focusing on what everyone else there has to say and what they're trying to say. And I think that was a big game changer for me to help me like really listen because otherwise I feel like it makes it makes it a lot easier for conversations to stay at a really high level if you're not 100% there. So when you are 100% there, you do two things. I think you make the conversation better for you, and I think it also encourages other people around you to also be 100% present with you. And I think it's huge, and it's something I never realized was important. Because before I would think, oh, I can text while I'm talking to someone,
Mm-hmm.
or I can we can walk and talk, or we can play video games and talk. But like in reality, I mean, some people can respect to those, but I knew I couldn't. Um, and I felt like it was always better when I was sitting there enjoying it. I think that was huge. So yes, overall, I would say the podcast has helped me get a lot better at conversations. It helped me become a lot more present in conversations and also realize there's so many dynamics and nuances to a good conversation. But yeah, how about you, Mark? What are some of your lessons learned?
It's been a hit or miss sometimes.
Mm,
I feel like with the people I'm comfortable with, it's easier for me to kind of talk, or like I kind of get out of my head the small nuances or like the fears I would have had normally. Like even like when we first started the podcast of like just jumping to a random topic, or just like um, how do you dive into something deep. And
mhm,
like sometimes, obviously based on the situation, um, it may not be the most opportune time to like dive into something deep. But you can always preface it, right? And be like, hey, you know, I got a lot of stuff going on. Like almost just being honest with yourself with the conversation, right? Like um, whether it's you wanting to initiate the conversation, or you saying, like, if someone comes up to you and it's like, hey, do you have, I got some stuff on my mind. I got some deep stuff like I want to talk about. Do you have some time? And being honest and being like, I don't know if I'm mentally prepared for this. Hit like give me some time to like kind of get in the right
yeah,
mindset, and I'll come back to you. And because
mm,
there's no harm in that, right? There's no harm in being like, I want to give you my attention, but right now I just can't. I got too much other stuff going on, and I can't right now. Um, so trying to be more honest with yourself when you're talking, because I feel like that's
mhm,
more, people appreciate it more. Where it's just like, oh, like, I don't know, people love honest people, right? Um,
mhm,
but that's kind of like the hits, right? Where like I think with the people that I know, I feel like it's easier to talk. Now with the people I don't know, it's kind of like a miss, where it's just like I can't tell, or like conversations kind of flop. It's like, am I really getting better at this? Or it's like, I guess, like
mm,
finding that finding a better way to talk to new people, I would say,
mm,
is something I'm still like struggling with. Whether it's just like kind of like shooting in the dark for like general topics to talk about, or like I guess even like as a host of a podcast, trying to facilitate a conversation. I feel like I'm
mhm,
absolutely terrible at it. Even like there are times, even like with the podcast itself, I feel like I don't always do a good job of like kind of carrying the conversation, or figuring out like
mhm,
where to go, or like what what points can I touch on that really interests you and can get you talking.
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to just like, oh, here's my straight up answer.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, well, I guess next topic. And so I was like, oh man, it's rough.
Mm.
Um,
Gotcha.
but I
So it's
think
like
that's
both.
yeah, it's definitely like I they're like the high points where I'm like, okay, I definitely see like I'm I'm getting better at it, but there's still like everything else, there's still a lot of other stuff I can work on.
Mm. So here's what I'll challenge you or your thought process on this. Do you think you would have thought this way if it wasn't for the podcast? Like, did you think you weren't that great at conversations with random people or your friends until we started the podcast? Or do you think the podcast helped you start to realize these are the things I can improve on at this level?
I definitely think the podcast uh, brought up or like it kind of revealed a lot of um, like my problems, my issues with like having conversations or holding conversations
Mm,
that I wouldn't have seen otherwise um, from the podcast. Like we talked about, it's rare to have a long form like conversation with people. Like even like when we talked like in the very beginning of the podcast, like the goal was like let's just have a long form conversation with people where we're not drunk out of our minds,
mhm.
plain and simple. Like let's have like a real talk where, like you said too, like we're present here in the moment and like let's just discuss like what's on our mind. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't without the podcast, I don't think um, I don't know if I would have like been exposed to like this kind of experience. Like it's kind of like few and far between where like it it's I appreciate it like when it's like a serious moment, but I also it's nice to have just like a casual talk, like a
Mhm,
casual like long form talk, right? Like it doesn't always
mhm,
have to be serious. Like, hey, do you mind sitting down and talking for a bit? Nothing serious. I just want to like catch up, right? Like stuff like that.
mhm.
So I think the podcast has definitely just kind of opened my eyes to, um, like I said, there's a lot of like weird. There's a there's a lot of skills I would say that are required to really um, be great at
Yeah.
having a conversation.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like that's for me been a huge part of it was like me realizing how much nuance there is or how many aspects of it and like how you can bring it. I think one other thing that I noticed is not everyone can do this. I think it's really crazy to the fact that we started because I feel like it was hard for me to imagine like man, this isn't that easy to do. Like I seeing other people do it and like looking at it from the outside without ever trying it, it always seemed like something that was like, oh, I could do that if I wanted. Like it's just people talking. But then I realized that's like a faulty mindset to have. And I hate it when people do that is like break an art form or someone's like actions into like the simplest form
Mm-hmm.
because it sometimes dumbs it down to a point where you think anyone can do it and it doesn't credit all of the skill and all the little things that people have to work on in order to produce something
Mm-hmm.
like this. And I'm not, and I think it's really cool too, because at the same sense, I think me and you have so much room to grow. Right?
Oh,
We're
for
not
sure.
even close to being good at this, but then I appreciate it more because I'm like, wow, there is a lot to this.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have ever saw it in that perspective of mine would have never like opened up if we didn't start the journey.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool. So like things like it's crazy. So for me, like things like Conan O'Brien or like just talk show hosts even or interviews. I
Yeah.
think interviews are super fascinating to me because it feels like it flows so well. And like to do that with a stranger is crazy. And then to do it with someone that's super famous is also crazy. Like there's so many levels expected. Like it's hard for me and you to do it to a random stranger. Imagine doing it to Jay-Z. Like I don't even know what I'd say to him, you know?
I do kind of think that, but it reminds me of Hot Ones to be basic and Sean
Yeah.
Evans, right? Where he'd like, they put in like a lot of research into like figuring out like what questions to ask them, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I kind of want to like discredit it a bit. Where like if it's someone famous, like to be fair, like they have like a bunch of stuff, like they're known and you can easily like search them. But I feel like with even like taking it from an average point of view, um, that's gotta be it's like you never know like what to ask. Like I guess even like for me and you, like you said, if we were to meet Jay-Z, like I don't know what I would ask him. I would just be like,
Yeah.
hi, can I get a picture? I don't even know if I'd ask if I could get a picture. I'd be like, what the fuck? That's fucking Jay-Z. Like, holy hell.
So, yeah, exactly.
Like, I'd just be
But here's
flabbergasted.
where I would disagree with you is I get the mindset, I get the thought process. In the same sense though, we could do our own research on anyone at the same time and figure them out too, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There are
And
ways.
I mean it wouldn't be easier. It would definitely be harder and we'd have to put in more work, but at the same sense like I'd be mad like something that I feel like we could even start doing like when we have a guest is like literally go on their Instagram page and look at like what their last three posts were.
Hmm.
I sometimes like that's just research, right?
Yeah.
And it's just normal. It's like, oh, these are things that are important to this person.
Hmm.
Let me like take that into account before we bring him onto the podcast. It's very, very. I think to me like makes me appreciate the art form a ton
Hmm.
in every facet of it. But yeah, so that's what I would say are the big takeaways for the podcast. Is it's helped me improve my conversation, and help me like understand there's so much beauty to long form conversation,
Yeah.
whether it's with a stranger or whether it is trying to make a show out of it.
Hmm.
So I know we've been going a little bit back and forth. I did want to ask you one question.
Okay.
Going back to our really, really like in the very beginning, you said, "Oh, it'd be cool if we had like monthly thematic questions."
Hmm.
So mine was the whole, "What would you tell your
What do
like
you tell
five
yourself?
years?"
Hmm.
What would your question be?
Anyways, it looks like it's time for a quick break, guys. Uh, I don't know. I'm not too sure because I when I think of like questions I would ask, I feel like I end up defaulting back to like questions I have asked, and obviously I don't want to lean back on that. I want to do like something fresh, something new. Uh, hmm.
What are some of the mysteries in life that you're trying to solve?
Man, I don't know. There's like a lot of.
Speak your mind, man.
Hmm. I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. Mysteries in my life, Neil Gisildo. Man, I got a lot. I got a lot of mysteries. And you want
All
me?
right.
You want me to start spitting shit? Boom. No, I won't do that. I'm not gonna roast them.
But what if you thought of it in
Um.
like a concept level? I don't know who it could be. Oh yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, it would be interesting. But that would be cool. I mean, maybe it is something we can't answer now. But it would be cool to give it some thought. And maybe that becomes our February question of the month.
I feel like I have to go back and watch past podcasts and see like, have I asked this before?
Mm. Yeah, well, even if you
Okay.
have or if you haven't.
I guess for this because this is something that resonates with me is
Yeah.
um if you're I guess if you're like conscious about it, um how do you get yourself out of like what do you do to get yourself out of like a negative mindset? Because
Mm.
obviously that's something that I'm working on and trying to just like almost like brute force it with logic. Now that like I talked, I think I talked about it. Where like I
In the
have like
pre-show.
okay, yeah, I wasn't sure if I
But
talked
tell
about it on
us
the show,
about it
but
anyways.
um, basically what I've been doing is when like I have like a negative thought or like a negative mindset, I end up making like a list for it. Originally I put it on a spreadsheet, but then I ended up putting on a word table. It's a little more organized. Anyways, so I start with like a negative mindset, right? Let's just say I'm a terrible person. Something as simple as that. And the next column I put, so how does that make you feel, right? Why do you feel like you're a terrible person? And then I'll write down all the reasons of like why I feel like I'm terrible and like I'm not likable. I don't have this quality. Blah blah blah. So I'll write down like all the things that kind of support like why I feel like I'm a terrible person. So the third column after that is um, what can we scratch off? What can we cancel out? What makes this thought illogical? Like, uh, uh, I guess the example I gave you earlier is like, oh, I'm a terrible person. So to counter that, it's like, well, do you go out of your way to cause harm, to cause problems for people, and you get enjoyment of causing those problems? From what I know, no, I don't think so. I don't do it intentionally. If I do, then I thoroughly apologize. But even that, with that itself, you're not a terrible person. Um, so just kind of canceling out the illogical thoughts.
Yeah.
But then if there's still something lingering, I have a fourth column where it's just like, okay, so what can you do to prove that you're not a terrible person? What can you do to fix that
Mhm.
mindset? Because obviously there are some flaws in that original mindset of I'm a terrible person. So what can we do to cancel out those feelings? And overall, once we cancel out those feelings, we can cancel out that thought of I'm a terrible person and work on something better. Like, oh, maybe you don't have to go from I'm a terrible person to I am perfection. You
Mhm.
can go from I'm a terrible person to I'm decent.
Mhm.
I have some flaws. I have some things I can work on. But then that can go further down on the chart. Okay, I'm decent. How does that make you feel? What can we do? What are the next steps?
Mhm.
Um, I'm not gonna
That's
lie,
cool.
I completely forgot where we were going with this.
It's your question of the month would be how do you deal with
How do
negative?
you? Yeah. So
Because I think that's cool.
that's what I've been
And it's
doing.
cool that's how you do it.
Hmm.
It's very it's like structured. I love that. I think it's really interesting, Mark, what I feel like I've also noticed over time is I feel like you're starting to realize more and more how logical person you, which is kind of interesting. Because I feel like you, at least when I first growing up, I never thought of you as like a pure logic person.
You can call me a
You know,
dummy.
I thought you were completely illogical.
I mean, I don't blame you. Looking back, yeah, I could see where that came from.
But but it's cool. I feel like it's also like something I think is worth calling out is like your mindset has shifted so like over time. But it's cool. I think that it's awesome because then you become, and me and you have talked about this already, but then you have like this cool documentation of first your growth, but also like all the things you've improved on over time,
Hmm.
all the hardships you've faced, and like a thought process level.
Hmm.
I think it's like if you keep up with it, it becomes something that's really, really cool and benefits you like next month. But I also think of how cool would that thing look 10 years from now? And I think that would be like such an interesting way of capturing your memories. Just like how when me and you look through our photos from 5 years from now, it would be sick to look through this 5 years from now and be like, man, these are the things I thought about. And then you literally have a measure of your growth
Hmm.
over time and how you think. I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah, I just gotta make sure I keep going with it. That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing.
As is all things, I think is what I'm realizing. It's like you just have to keep going with an idea, with like a concept,
Hmm.
and you keep refining it over time, and then it will naturally become something that's important, either to you or like the world. I think it's really interesting to be that focused about something. Um, but yeah, that would be a really cool question to ask other people because I would love to hear how two things. I think it'd be really refreshing to know. It's like almost a confirmation that everyone does also have negative thoughts.
Hmm.
Everyone goes through the same thing. No one is impervious to these kind of moments in life or these thought processes. So I think just by asking people that, it kind of helps people realize, man, I'm not alone on
Hmm.
this. Like, oh, you also think this way sometimes about yourself? Like, that's interesting. I do too. Because I think it's something we don't talk about often.
It is funny because um, one of my friends that I talked to was kind of going like I could see them going through like a dark phase, and I was like, hey, this is something I've been doing, and this is something like I would highly recommend. Because
Yeah.
when I first thought of it, it sounded really stupid, but just give it a shot. If it works for you, stick with it, and I'll tell you like my plan about it, and like if you feel like it works, then we can work together for it. And honestly, it was terrifying at first to kind of share what my thoughts were as like an example, because like this is like my deep inner thoughts, and like all the darkness with it, and like what I'm
Hmm.
trying to do for it. Um, and it was kind of relieving when they went through it and they're like, "Dang, I'm kind of going through the same like thoughts as you." And
Hmm.
I was like it was like relieving that it's like I'm not the only one going through this, but it also feels bad where it's like, "Dang, you're also going through this," you know? Um,
Mm, but
but
it's cool. I mean, you have to start tackling the
yeah,
problem.
yeah. But I'm hoping that it's kind of helping, even if it's just a little bit. It's better than just kind of letting it eat away at you.
Yeah.
But I think that's also
And
why I said like when like if you're conscious about it, because I think for some people it's just like natural, where it's just kind of like instinct, where you don't have to think about how to break out of it. It's just like, oh, I just naturally know what to do. It's almost like breathing.
hmm.
I think in some cases where it's just like, oh, it's something negative's coming. Let's go out for a walk. Let's go enjoy nature. Done
Yeah.
deal. You don't even think about it. It's almost just like it's no longer, oh, negative thought is coming. It's growing. I need to get out. It's, dang, I feel like going for a walk right now. Don't know why.
Hmm.
I just want to go for
It's
a
like a
walk.
triggered response.
Mm-hmm. So I think it'd be
But
cool to
I
see.
think at the same time, by asking the question, I would be surprised. I would be surprised if people were like, ah, I don't know how I do it. Or if we probed enough, I think they could get to that moment where they realize,
Realize.
you know what, I started walking. And then I
Mm-hmm.
think people can realize those techniques. I think that'll be really cool because then we get insight on how everyone else does it. And you see, it'll be cool because then eventually you can like see the themes and see how all these things are connected in a way where people can like have a way to get rid of thinking negatively.
Mm-hmm.
So, dang, I think the monthly question thing would be really sick.
Yeah, I think it'd
That'd be
be.
a really cool addition to the podcast. 2020, we're back, baby.
Yo, it's new us.
New ideas, fresher than ever. See, and I think
Excuse me.
something I know we talked about before that I feel like we didn't talk about that much in this podcast is like I love the idea more recently is like the idea of taking breaks. I think like taking breaks are so important because it really allows you to take a step back from something that like when you keep doing something for so long, it's hard to see the big picture
Mm-hmm.
or like think creatively. And I think that was what was happening to us. At least for me, I feel like that was happening to me in the podcast. And I think that's what's really, really important is like to understand sometimes you have to take a break, but when you come back to it, know you'll come back to it better in time.
I think it's also hard to gauge like when you should take a break, because I know during the pre-show I
That's
kind of
true.
mentioned it where it was nice to take a break, and I personally felt like I was starting to get like burnt out. That like
Yeah.
I was kind of just like desperately grasping for like you know uh, something new to talk about, or like um,
Hmm.
just like in general, just something new and creative to spice things up. Um, and like sometimes it works. Sometimes like going through and just like struggling with the process, you'll
Hmm.
get there. But like you said too, sometimes you just gotta step away from it. Step away from it for a bit, get some new perspective, and come back, hopefully refreshed and renewed.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's huge. Um, but it does make me really happy that we took a break. And it makes me really happy that we're back here now. It's awesome that we're back here and we're filming again, even though it's like only episode 28. And even though
Mm-hmm.
like again, we're gonna have to like ramp back up. We're gonna have to change some things up. But it's like so cool. It's cool coming back to a thing. And like I think that's something I would, going back to something I would tell myself 21 years ago is like, you got to realize it takes time to grow. And sometimes you're going to get impatient, and sometimes you wish you could do more. There's like some secret way to like get results quick, but it just doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
So like give it time. You'll grow. Just give it time and don't give up and keep going. I feel like if I could tell myself, I would replace what my third thing was and tell him that.
Dang, it's funny because I'm thinking about that, and I guess as like a follow up, if you were
Mm.
just to say that, and like just don't give up, keep trusting in like the process, and just keep grinding, working hard, and it'll pay off. What would you what would you add to that to really to really believe it, like on a personal level? Because I feel like that's something easy to say, where it's just like the hard work will pay off. Just keep working hard, keep grinding at it, and you'll make it work.
Hmm.
But like if you had to I guess the easiest thing would be like if you had to give like an example of like where it did pan out, to make yourself believe it.
Yeah.
Do you think you would be able to say something to like
Get
I
myself to really believe it when I was 21.
yeah. Do you kind of
Yeah.
get what I'm
I know what you're
trying to say?
saying. I think the thing is sometimes it isn't that I would have got it at 21. It goes back to what you said. Like, what are the things I would have listened to and actually changed when I was 5 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's so much that, but I think it's one extra time where I needed to hear it for me to learn the lesson and see how much it really applies to my life already.
True.
And I think that's also a cool part about the whole question in general is this idea of the retro, like looking back at things and seeing how much you've actually changed. And I would basically, how I would ask him, I would say, hey, like, what would you tell yourself 5 years ago? Like, think about that 21-year-old
Then you
Matt.
create a time loop.
Yeah, yeah, you do kind of create a time loop,
Yeah.
but it's like, then you start to see how much you've actually grown and how, like, you're a living, breathing version of, you trusted the process and look at you now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you might not be a smashing success. You might not have accomplished all your dreams, but at least for me, and maybe it's not like it for everyone, but for sure, if 5 old 5 years ago, like I saw myself now, I would be proud of who I've become. So I think that's like how I would try to break it to him is like bring it back into a term that he would understand.
True.
Because like now I'm thinking, what would I tell myself 10 years ago?
Oof.
I'd be like, yo, don't worry about IB exams, man.
Yo,
First off, you're gonna
that's
do
at
like you're
least your
gonna pass.
words.
But second of all, like it doesn't even fucking like it doesn't really matter. Like
Unfortunately.
from a logistical standpoint, like you're not gonna get that far ahead in college because of all that stuff. I would tell him that. But it'd be funny because like that would stick with him probably.
Mm-hmm.
That would be like, huh, that's interesting. Maybe I shouldn't worry about this thing so much.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can't even imagine worrying about that. I can't even imagine worrying about the high school drama I was going through. Like, yo, don't worry. Like, yeah, your friend group isn't gonna work out. Like, don't worry about it. Like everything will be okay.
True. True.
And then, like, yeah, it's crazy. But I love it because I like it. When I start thinking this way, I start thinking of my past in terms of growth,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps me build this mindset of optimism. And I think that's huge. Is I think when you can start seeing things all in this perspective of in a positive light, it like kind of spreads to how you view yourself and how you view life and everything. And I think it like just again creates it like helps fix the mindset. I think like being an optimist is huge to that.
Yeah. And I think
Um,
there's a cool effect where, um, just having like that positive mindset. I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but I know it's happened to me where, um, when I have like that optimist mindset, things kind of like fall into place, right? Things
yes.
just
Yeah.
straight, like coincidentally, it just feels like, oh, dang, this worked out for me. This worked out for me. Okay. You just kind of keep rolling and dodging all the punches. You're like, oh, okay, I know what I'm doing here, and it's like,
Yeah.
huh, this is kind of weird, but okay, right?
Yeah. It's
It's
like,
like,
whoa, everything worked out. Huh. Like you don't, it's crazy because even when you don't plan it, it works out better than you expected sometimes.
mm-hmm. But I think that's important. Just like learning to kind of master that mindset, and just like always look for like the brighter things.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's a mindset that I've been trying to fix recently because I think you'd be surprised. For me, I was surprised at how much it bled into my life and how I think about other things that you wouldn't really think applies to this whole optimist mindset. Um, but one thing that I'm trying to change is the concept of like, that's like, why is he doing that? That's stupid. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think about um like what you mentioned, like your Excel sheet thing with your negative thoughts and all that stuff. Like there's like some people that aren't going to see that. They're going to think that it's stupid, but then like they just don't understand the value that it means to you and how it actually helps you think better.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really easy to think that something's stupid. I think it's really hard to find value in something that you didn't think was interesting in the first place. And I think that's like a really big challenge because I think if you can find value in anything, you can like your mindset is you see the best in everything because of it. Like you understand how things help people grow. And I think that's huge.
Yeah,
Uh,
I
so
think
like it's interesting. I feel like I've been getting into things that I used to think were really boring that aren't as boring anymore. Like I'm trying to like what we talked about in the pre-show, like interior design. 5 years, if I told myself that 5 years ago, like, yo, you should start learning how to like decorate your room. Like, what the fuck's wrong
yeah,
with you, guy?
you'll get a life, nerd.
Yeah, yeah, like for sure
Yeah,
that's what he'd say. For sure. And I'm like, he just didn't get it. He at that point in time, I didn't see the beauty in it. So those are the things I'm trying to challenge myself in more is like not thinking something's dumb, but thinking, how is this guy gaining from this thing? Because I think it's really easy to think like it doesn't make sense for someone to do that.
right. It's easy to like just kind of like brush it off and like belittle them, be like, okay, whatever, but
Yeah,
not see the true value or the true worth in like what they're doing.
yeah, but yeah,
But
2020, man.
I think it's close to that time. I'm sorry. I apologize ahead of time. Um, the return podcast came a lot sooner than I had anticipated, so I apologize if you can tell that I'm kind of stumbling a bit, trying to get back, brushing off, brushing off the dust on the cogwheels, getting the mind
You,
turning into the right mindset.
you
Um,
weren't, man. I'm just gonna say you weren't.
we trying our best. Um, but I guess as usual, um, don't forget to follow us here on YouTube. Don't forget to like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it. But if you hit that dislike, you better comment why you didn't like it. I don't want no hate around here, all right?
Mm,
But if you
fuck
like this
that.
stuff, feel free to subscribe to us here on YouTube. Hit that bell button so you get notified because I don't even get the notifications for it. So hit the bell button so you get notified. Follow us on our quote unquote new Twitter. That's at underscore almost awesome underscore. Because that's where we're gonna be posting, like whenever we go live, our poll questions, for the upcoming podcast, and so on and so forth. Um, Follow us on Instagram. Uh, is it just at almost awesome? Almost awesome underscore IG. That's what it is. I was like, I'm missing something. Almost awesome underscore IG.
Yeah,
Because we'll be trying to post on there, just little snippets of what's going on, um, with the podcast, different bits of content, little bits of quotes and inspirational things to help you get started with your day whenever you're going through. Anything else I'm missing?
I can't think of anything else.
Oh, I would say this. So, we mentioned this in the hiatus video. It was also brought to my attention that a lot of people didn't watch it. So if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it because there's some important stuff going on in there. So you're missing out. Anyways, um, if any of you out there, like make any like music or things that you'd like to showcase, like music wise, we're looking for some music for the pre-show to kind of like spice it up a bit. So if you're interested in showcasing some of your music, whether it's like, small 1 minute, 2 minute clip, you have a full song, you have like an album or whatever, anything you want to showcase that you own, feel free to message us. You can send us a tweet. You can hit us in the comments. I mean, hopefully you own it. I don't want to be like, oh yeah,
That's funny. It's like, dude, I love the song, Mark. Check it out.
Neil Gisildo sent me the song from Childish Gambino. I'm like, did you make this? He's like, yo, I made this.
That's funny.
But if you're interested in showcasing your music, we'd love to help get your name out there and feature it in our pre-show.
Yeah, let's collab.
We're also looking for like any sort of help, whether that's through like managing our social media, creating new content, trying to make a new layout for the podcast, better way to organize it. I'm missing something. Moderators in chat as well to help us, so we can focus on the conversation. I'm not saying I don't want to focus on you guys in chat, but I know specifically for me, I already have so much other stuff that I'm focusing on. I'm trying to make sure the stream quality's like stable, all the cameras are set up right, Discord's working properly, and all that stuff. So any additional help whatsoever would be greatly appreciated. Whether you like the best times to like post our videos on YouTube, the best way to get our Twitter questions answered and get like variety of different answers and stuff like that. Anything like that, anything at all, we'd be very appreciative for any sort of help to improve the quality of our podcast for you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If I could just build on that a little bit. Yeah, I mean, really, we're just trying to make this thing awesome. So, so we're figuring it out along the way. So if anyone wants to help us grow, like we can do it together. It'll be sweet.
Let's form a team. That team.
Hell yeah.
Oh, one last thing. One last thing. We didn't mention this, but we do have a dress theme as per usual for most other podcasts. And this theme was no pants. So unfortunately, on our main YouTube stream, we cannot show that to you. But through our Patreon site, you can support us through there and get some premium highlights of the No Pants podcast.
You get a version of this one, but it's pants POV instead.
And that's
of
it.
Face. That's funny.
But I think that's about it. Now,
yo, I cannot wait to unveil the biggest tech that we have since we've come back. Our 2020 tour. Mark, I am going to let you do the honors of the last. Is that cool? Are you going to do the minute? You want me to do the minute?
I could do it. I think the way I have it set up, there's some things we may have to work on. So what I'll do for this, I'll go to our break page real quick, while you get everything set up. Does that sound good?
Dude, I'm set, dude. I've designed this thing so perfectly well.
I don't know if you've seen this, but our transition is gonna be like a second.
Yeah, will you do like a 3, 2, 1? Then we'll do it at the same time and it'll look sick.
Okay. All right. So, for those of you who don't know, because I had to preface it, for those of you who don't know, at the end of every podcast, we do a minute closer. Unfortunately, since we don't have a guest, usually we throw it out to the guest and leave it to them to close out the podcast with any final remarks, and in conclusion, a TLDR, whatever they so choose to do with their time. Like I said, time is valuable, and you can choose to do with it whatever you please. Just make good use of it. Also, don't get us banned. And if you get us banned, ooh, you are in for a world of hurt. Anyways, but we give them a minute to close it out. And Matt, do you have the timer ready?
Yo, I'm ready.
All right.
If
So
it was,
how
no,
is
wait,
this?
before we say anything, I'm just gonna tell you. If it was me doing the 1 minute closer, I would spend the whole time talking about how we designed this because it's it's brilliant. Anyways, I'm ready, Mark. Sorry.
Okay. I guess to do this, because this is the first time us doing this transition, so I want to make sure this goes off flawlessly. So do you want me to count you down for the transition, and then you'll count me down for the timer? Because usually you'll count down for the timer.
Yes. I'll count you down for the timer won't start until we transition.
All right, so we have drum roll. 3, 2. Oh, wait.
I can't drum roll and click.
Yeah. So I'll do this. I was gonna count down to 1, but then it'll be 3, 2, 1, go. And on go,
Okay.
we transition to the closers set.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
All right.
I'm ready.
You have the drum roll. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh! There's lag. Okay.
It's okay.
It's fine. It's fine. It's first
cool.
time.
It's
okay.
cool. All right.
So let me get some water real quick.
Yeah, we had our IT folks develop some in-house technology, so we have a almost awesome timer, 60 seconds.
It's a low
Mark?
budget IT team, but we're doing the
Low
best
budget.
we can.
Yo, we invested heavy on this. Anyways, full benefits, dental.
Wait, I don't even have dental, man. What's going on?
All right, Mark. I'm gonna count you down. I'm gonna do a 3, 2, 1, go. Oh shit. Okay, I'll give you a 3, 2, 1, go. I just saw the purple.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. It's low budget.
It's okay. Yeah, it's low budget.
Okay.
But we're getting there.
Our IT guy's a little colorblind.
Yeah, I'm gonna yell at someone for this. All right, I'll give you a 3, 2, 1, go, Mark.
Okay.
And then ready?
I think so. I hope so.
You got this. 3, 2, 1, go.
Like usual, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. Oh, and I get an extra 2 seconds, but that's cool. I guess I'm the host, so that's what I get. But thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. It's great to be back. Hopefully you guys are excited to see what the rest of 2020 has in store for us. Hopefully we'll do some monthly themed questions. We're gonna have some new guests, new thought processes. And we're just gonna have a good time. I guess big takeaways from this is use your time wisely. Invest in the things that you care about, whether that's this podcast, someone else's podcast, or just watching any of the YouTube videos. But just make sure whatever you're investing your time in, you make it worth it. But with that, we're going to send you off with the usual goodbye. And I hope you didn't miss it because we got 3 seconds left. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Bye.